We're going to talk today about how you can use IBM Web Content Management to make it simple for business users to author and manage web content. First, let's meet the team of people that will help us out with this demonstration. We have Frank Adams. He's a member of the Human Resources team. He's a business user and a content author for the HR content. We also have Natalie Olmos. She's part of the legal team. She's also a business user and a content author, and she can also approve the corporate documents. First, we're going to watch as Frank Adams edits and creates content. If we take a look at our site before Frank logs in, we see the site from the point of view of an anonymous user. We see that the anonymous user has access to several pages, including the home page, products and solutions, sustainability, and about us. If we go ahead and log in as Frank Adams, we'll see the website from Frank Adams' point of view. As Frank Adams, we see we have access to several new features, including the personalized My IBM site. Frank heads over to his HR page. This page displays the assets which are organized using WCM's hierarchical folder system, as well as by a second organization using categories. On this page, the top three views of documents are displays of a single tree in the folder system. This includes a legal tree, new employees, and retirement. In the last view, we see a set of documents called policies. While these pull from those other three folders which we see above, these are the documents which have been categorized or tagged as being policies. On this page, Frank is able to view all the assets stored in WCM. He can also share them on Facebook, on Twitter, email them, print them, and he can dig into more details of the documents. Here he's looking at a non-compete document. On the left, he can see the body of the document itself. In this particular example, the piece of content contains a document uploaded from the file system called NC923.123.8a.doc. You can see in the body of the Word document, the text begins with a non-compete clause. Often, NCC, or covenant not to compete, is the text of the Word document. Now this is the same text that is presented inside the content itself, displayed on the screen in line, using the WCM features, which pulls directly from the document and is able to display it as HTML. You see over on the right that Frank also sees related documents by topic and tags, two features provided by WCM to view related content. Frank closes that document and goes back to his HR page view. If you notice on this page, Frank is able to edit some of the documents on the page. Since Frank is an HR employee, he has access to edit those pieces of content which are contained in the HR folders. You can see he does not have access to edit the legal documents above, but he can edit those under new employees. So Frank opens the document called Contract. Here, Frank wants to change the dates inside the document. They're a little outdated, saying 2010, and he needs them to change it to 2011. So Frank quickly makes these changes. In this example, Frank is editing the body of the content using WCM's eFox editor, which allows him to edit the content using rich text capabilities, much like the word processor tools content authors are used to. Frank makes one final change to categorize this piece of content as a policy document. You'll see when Frank saves and closes this document that it will now appear in the Policies folder as well. So as Frank returns to his HR page, he is able to use the real-time filter to filter down on the documents. He uses the word contract to quickly locate his contract document and see that it now appears in two places, both under New Employees and under the Policies section. As we mentioned before, the contract document is seen under New Employees as it belongs in the New Employees folder in the folder hierarchy system. It also belongs under the Policies section because the document was just categorized as a policy document when Frank edited it. Using the inline editing tools provided by WCM, Frank was able to edit files in context to how he views them on the HR page. He did not have to shift to a different tool or editor. He simply clicked on the provided edit tool and opened the document, made the necessary changes. Frank is also able to search for documents using the built-in search capabilities of WCM and WebSphere Portal. In this example, Frank decides to search for the word complete. He knew that this was a word inside of the contract that he just updated and wanted to make sure that it was found in the search. As the search results come back, Frank quickly notices that the contract document is at the top of his search results. Viewing through this summary, he notices that the word complete, which he searched for, is contained in the body of that document. The search capabilities provided with Web Content Management searches inside documents and not just the metadata fields and titles. Done with his searching, Frank heads back to the HR page and into the new Launchpad tool. Included in Web Content Management 7.0.1, the new Launchpad tool makes it easy for Frank to quickly access the content and tools he needs. Under the Create Content section, Frank is able to quickly access those types of content he creates most often. Document assets, and also the Files wizard to create new documents. In the Open Views section, Frank is able to see the two areas, the two folders that he uses more often, the HR content and his content. Opening up his HR content that is used as a favorite, he's able to see the three folders we saw previously, New Employee, Retirement, and Life Events, from the HR page. Frank is able to quickly see his recent documents under the Web Content Activity folder. Notice that Contract, the document he just edited, is listed as the most recent document. Opening up the contract, he is able to see the previous versions of that document. Taking a look at the version 13, the most recent version, Frank is able to preview those changes as a web page, and he sees the most recent changes he made, editing both of the string fields from 2011 to 2010. Taking a look at the version 12, Frank is able to preview that page as well and see the same fields, but with their previous version in which they said 2010. Happy with these changes, Frank exits out and returns back to his HR page. Now, let's take a look at how Frank Adams is able to easily create content using Web Content Management. If you remember, Frank Adams is a member of the Human Resources team. He's a business user, and he's able to create content, but only under the HR folder. As Frank heads back to his Launchpad, he has access to the new Files wizard, which is a custom component built to allow Frank to easily drag and drop files and create content. Looking at the Files wizard, we see the same folder hierarchy that we saw previously. As Frank investigates the hierarchy, he chooses the New Employee folder to drag and drop a 401k Word document and create a new piece of content. Frank returns to his Launchpad, where he views the recent web content activity and sees the document that he just created. Next, let's see how Natalie Olmos is able to approve content using the Web Content Management system. If you remember, Natalie is part of the legal team, and she's also a business user, a content author, and an approver. Natalie logs into the portal using her username and password. At the site, she is presented with the same My IBM HR page that Frank Adams had access to. You'll notice on Natalie's version of the My HR page, she has access to edit the legal documents, as well as the rest of the documents on the page. As a member of the legal team, she's given access to edit all content documents, as she may need to edit them to approve them for legal reasons. Natalie accesses the same shortcut in WCM Launchpad that Frank did. In Natalie's view of the Launchpad, she sees the documents which require her approval. At the top of this list is a 401k document that Frank just created. Natalie decides to open this document to see what Frank had created. She sees at the top the title of the document, as well as that it was in fact created by Frank Adams and is in the draft state, which is part of the workflow that the documents are created with by default. Natalie decides to change the title of the document to make it more user-friendly. She also decides to categorize the document according to the policy category and the financial category. Lastly, she changes the summary of the document. As a content author and approver, Nancy was able to use the same inline editing tools to quickly edit content without having to leave her page to another authoring tool. In the same manner, Natalie is able to quickly approve documents and see those documents that require her approval. Looking at the recent web content history, Natalie also notices her changes as a 401k policy document she just renamed and approved in Web Content Activity. Opening her Views folder, Natalie has easy access to her content, including the HR content folder. Drilling down into the New Employee folder, Natalie sees those documents which are designated for new employees. She sees a 401k policy document, which, while it's for new employees, she also categorized as financial and as a policy document. While she's there, Natalie also notices the contract document is locked by Frank Adams. She opens the document to check it out to see what Frank is doing. She sees that it was last modified by Frank and is currently locked by Frank Adams. Looking over the document, Natalie heads to the bottom of the document where she sees the complete change history of the document. From this view, it looks like Frank has just created this document and has already gone through several edits. He'll likely be publishing the document today. Seeing what she needs, Natalie closes out the document and is done with her content management for the day.